All right, back with another what I watched this month. I made one of these a while ago. It was fun, so I'm gonna try it again. Although I might break this up into two parts, as about halfway through the month, I had realized it was like 20 days in, and I realized I'd watched 20 movies, which is a lot for me. And I was kind of like, well, why don't I just keep this going? There's 31 days this month. Let's try to watch 31 movies, and that's exactly what I did. So I figure we can talk about it. I'm going to break this up into two parts because of how many different things there are to talk about here. So, I'll upload part two tomorrow if it's the kind of thing that you're interested in. I should mention that I use Letterboxd to log all these things, so if you want to check out my Letterboxd, it's Jackson Kruger. Use the name below, my username on YouTube to get the spelling right. There's an extra E in there, which throws people off. But yeah, if you want to follow me on Letterboxd, you can. But anyways, let's just go through the list. These are everything that I've watched this month. First, there's The Holy Mountain, which is directed by Jodorowsky, and to be honest, this is a bit of a unique watch. It's very much an art house film. There's plenty of things in here that are very much unlike anything I have ever seen before. A lot of people love this movie. I gave it a 5 out of 10 for me. Again, my ratings are very much based on my personal experience. I don't say like this is an objective fact. I don't think people are wrong for loving it. If anything, I'm probably wrong for not loving it. But I didn't fully get everything. Reading about it, I kind of understand more of what people find interesting about it, but there's still a ton of stuff in here that seems like even people are like, yeah, I don't know what it means, I just like it, which, okay, that's totally a valid experience, but I wasn't as into some of the stuff and kind of just found myself confused and even a little bored during parts of it. But there's enough interesting there that it still gave it, 5 out of 10 is like a positive-ish review for me. So positive-ish grades. So that's what I decided to give it here. And then I watched the documentary Jodorowsky's Dune, which is a really unique film. So if you haven't seen it, what it is it's, again, Jodorowsky, who's this kind of crazy art house director guy. He wanted to make a remake of, or not a remake, just a film based on the book Dune. Forget before the Denis Villeneuve movies came out. This is before the David Lynch one came out. Reportedly, he just had like a friend who was reading Dune and really liked it, and so he got the rights to Dune and was like, we should make this movie, and it was like insane. Like so many of the like details about how it's supposed to work are just like crazy. So it's kind of, that's part of where the fun of this movie is. Also, a big part of the fun of this movie is just seeing all the people that really like looked up to Jodorowsky and really found him to be a interesting person to discuss. So yeah, that was interesting. The one thing I didn't love about the documentary is it did very much take Jodorowsky's side on basically everything, and some of the things I don't think were fully fair. Like at one point, it was like, look at all the things that this project that never got made, but there was, a lot of like sketches and stuff. Look at all the things that eventually came of it. And like one point was they showed a sword fight and then showed like Star Wars right after. And it's kind of like, well, I mean, I think lightsabers and sword fights are, sure, there's similar motions, but that's not the same thing in my opinion. But things like that didn't fully work for me, but still an interesting watch. So I'd recommend it. Then I watched Baby Reindeer, which does not count towards the 31 movies because it's a TV show, but I still am going to include it in the video. Yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10. I made a whole video on it already if you're interested in more extended thoughts, but just real quick, really fun character study. Very much enjoyed it. It was definitely worth a watch. Definitely would recommend. And then I watched My Neighbor Totoro. I've been trying to watch more Studio Ghibli movies. It's not something I'm overly familiar with. I didn't watch them as a kid or anything, but they're really fun. I really enjoy it. Like this is another one I'm giving a positive rating to. I just thought it was, the vibes were really fun. The cat bus is fantastic. Totoro is really just kind of adorable. It's just a lot of fun. I don't know if the movie did that much more for me personally. There might be deeper messages I just didn't get, but still a very fun watch. So yeah, another one I would recommend. Then I saw Reptile, which I'm actually a little surprised I gave this a 5 out of 10. Maybe I feel like my memory now is not that positive of it, to be honest. The 2023 movie, it's a sort of this murder mystery style of film, and there is some fun with the twist and stuff. It's basically the reason I watched this movie is my fiance, Stephanie, is very much into these style of movies, and sometimes doesn't even need it to be a great movie, just kind of likes this type of movie, and I'm down to watch anything, so sure, I'll watch it with her, but yeah, was not one that was particularly great. Benicio del Toro, really fun, but unless this is really your kind of thing, not really a movie I would recommend. And then I saw Opening Night, the John Cassavetes movie, which was actually really good. You have, Gina Rowland, his wife, who is playing an actress in the movie, as it's based on the plot of the movie is there's a play that's about to open, but there's an actress that's essentially, having a hard time. We'll just put it that way. Slowly starting to, lose her grip on reality at times, really struggling. You can definitely see the similarities between something like this and A Woman Under the Influence, which is another one of their movies. So, really enjoyable. And then I saw Paris, Texas, and it was one of the best movies I've ever seen in my entire life. I have on my Letterboxd, I like to do some lists on there, so you can check those out if you're interested. But I have one list that's just like the best movies I've ever seen. And it's very much not a scientific list by any means. It's just like if there's a movie that really means like a 10 out of 10 doesn't do it justice, I throw it up on the list, and I do keep them numbered, but it's subject to change. I change it all the time, and there's probably movies I would put on that list that I just haven't rewatched recently. But Paris, Texas, I put on number 2 on my list, which I've never done that before ever. I feel like usually if I do put it on the list, like barely on the list, and then I'll move it up with time. I was blown away by this movie. Director Wim Wenders is maybe how you say his name, maybe Wim Wenders. I'm not sure exactly the pronunciation, but I watched Wings of Desire, which is one of his movies, and wasn't crazy about it. Kind of found like it was one of my one thing I hate about art house movies is when it just feels like it's like a poetry type thing, which I'm just not into poetry. Just other people like that stuff, cool. Just not my thing, really. So I kind of put off watching more of his movies for a while because I was like, well, I don't know. It's not really my thing. Other people can enjoy it, cool. But with Paris, Texas, I was like, well, people kept recommending Paris, Texas. Anywhere you look at, like, best movies, Paris, Texas. You hear it all the time, and I'm kind of like, okay, finally, I'll watch Paris, Texas. I was actually on a plane, but I only had, like, 15 minutes left. The plane was going down. I'm like, okay, I'll just start it, see how it is. And, like, 5 minutes in, I'm like, this is awesome. I don't want to watch this on a plane. I want to wait till I get home. It was actually, I watched it in where I was going, but I was like, I don't want to watch this on a plane. I just knew right away. I'm like, this is something special, and it is. I'm not even going to tell you anything about the movie. Just going to tell you, go watch it. Watch Paris, Texas. It's one of the best things I've ever seen. It's number 2 on my all-time movies list, which I've only seen it once. I'm probably going to watch it again. And then I watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is a very fun movie. Definitely the just pure, like, attention to detail and how difficult this movie was to pull off is truly impressive, and that is my favorite thing about the movie. It's just how difficult it was probably to make. But the movie itself, a fun kind of, I don't know, film noir type thing. It's nothing. There's people that love this movie. I think the story is fine. It's nothing crazy to me. I'm not blown away by the characters or anything. It's more so just a very funly made movie and still an entertaining film, even if it was like CGI rabbits. But what elevates it is definitely the artwork and things like that for me personally. And then I watched Anyone But You, which was not great. It wasn't a very great movie. There was entertaining parts to it, for sure, but this is definitely the kind of movie that is at its best when you're watching it with people that you can make jokes about the movie itself, as it is very, very stupid. Intentionally so at times, but like, just, there's one scene that this can sum up the movie. So I guess the idea is like, Sydney Sweeney doesn't like, it's there on a plane with her ex-boyfriend, and the ex-boyfriend leaves a like half-eaten cookie on this like windowsill, and she decides she wants the cookie, and so she goes over to steal the cookie, and then due to mishaps ends up like essentially like straddling him on the plane while he's asleep the whole time. It's a weird movie. It's an odd one. Very stupid, intentionally so. And there is entertainment to be had. If you like dumb rom-coms, this is your thing, go ahead and watch it. But that's the only person I would recommend it to, which, again, isn't hey, it made a lot of money, so that's not a small audience, but I am not in that audience. And then I rewatched Shrek. Who hasn't seen Shrek a million times? It was funny because I was on vacation in Wisconsin visiting Stephanie's family, and it was basically the thing where we were kind of sitting around, and really as a joke, I just threw on Shrek, and then we ended up watching the whole thing. So that was it. It's a fun movie. I do think that. I do wonder, so much of it is iconic. Like, I do wonder if I watched it for the first time, would I be that into Shrek? I don't know, probably not, but it's Shrek. It's fun. How can you not? How can you not at least enjoy it? It's a good movie even without the added context. But I think the added context certainly adds to it, and the kind of the iconic nature of a lot of the jokes certainly adds to it. And then I watched the 2018 film Burning, which it feels weird to give this and Shrek the same score because they are such different movies, but that's what I did. I like this movie. I did. I think that it's definitely a bit slow paced for me, and I do think the character is a bit bland. The main character is a bit bland for me. I kind of thought that I had just like discovered this movie and no one had heard of it because I like to go on Mubi and just say, oh, this is an interesting looking movie. I didn't realize it was like actually a pretty popular like movie. I don't think I was that into movies at 2018, so I thought I had made a discovery. I really didn't, but yeah, enjoyable movie, really good performances and all of that. I enjoy the slow burn nature of it. I know it's not going to be for everybody. Even for me, it was a bit slow at times, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting watch. And then I watched documentary Camera Person, which was really fascinating. So essentially, the way it works is it's about there's a documentarian who has been a camera person for years, and basically it's just footage that she's taken over the years that weren't used in specific documentaries, but instead are used for this, and it comes together, and it's just a bunch of snippets of these different documentaries, and it doesn't sound that interesting, but it really created something really fascinating and enjoyable. So yeah, would highly recommend Camera Person if that sounds like your thing. Definitely some dark subject matter for sure. Really dark subject matter. Can be a tough watch at times, just due to a lot of times documentaries aren't about hey, the marshmallow factory is running fine. Like that's not usually what you make documentaries about. I'd watch that documentary maybe, but yeah, this one very good. And then I watched The Passion of Joan of Arc, a silent film, but with still very dialogue heavy silent film, a lot of title cards, which to me kind of hurt the movie because there is a lot of like reading the title cards and then seeing the reaction after it. It does hurt the pacing a bit. It is what it is. When you're making a silent movie that's dialogue heavy, that's kind of the issue you have to go with. Certainly a really impressive movie for its time. I think that you go back and watch it. It is it's masterfully done, incredible performance, all that stuff. But I do think that I don't watch a ton of silent films. Maybe it's a user error thing, but it kind of took me out of it a little bit. I did enjoy what it was going for and all of that stuff, but it just didn't really make me feel much of anything. So still giving it a 6 out of 10 just for most of what I was doing watching it was like, wow, this is really impressive, which is still, hey, I'm getting something out of it. But that's pretty much all I got out of it, so can't give it too much more than that. And then I watched The Iron Claw, which I was excited to watch. A lot of people were really high on this movie, and so I was interested in it. It didn't fully work for me. I think that the real life story, is super fascinating, and I almost would have rather just seen like a documentary about it than this, because to me, I think that's where it really got a lot of mileage out of, was just the real life story, which, hey, that's still a credit to the movie at the end of the day. Like, picking a good story is a big part of making the movie. But it did kind of sometimes feel like I was just watching event after event after event instead of just watching like a movie, if that makes sense. It did feel very, got that, what a lot of biopics have of kind of like, it does feel like we're just seeing almost reading a plot summary of events that happen instead of just watching what's happening. I also thought that in the emotional climax of the scene at the end, it was really kind of clunkily delivered, which I didn't love. So when you add on all that stuff, it just wasn't a movie that fully worked for me. And Zac Efron was very good. I wouldn't have given him an Oscar nomination. Just throwing that out there as well. So giving some hot takes here on the Iron Claw. Glad some people got more out of it than I did. I get it. I would have liked to see maybe a different version of this kind of story. The story itself just didn't fully work for me. And then I rewatched Mulholland Drive. This is one of those that, I had seen it before and really liked it, but watching it this time, I also added this to my best movies of all time list. It's just the best. And the way to view David Lynch, here's how I think people view David Lynch wrong. David Lynch does not make dreams, and he's even publicly stated that he never gets inspired by dreams. What he does get inspired by is daydreams, and I think that seems like a subtle difference, but I really feel like rewatch this movie and don't view it as a dream. View it as, like, I guess, kind of spoilers, but not really, because it's all, it won't hurt your experience at all, me saying this. View it as more daydreams. If you haven't seen Mulholland Drive. Even if you don't love some of David Lynch's other stuff, this is the one, like, if you don't like this, you just don't like David Lynch. I feel like maybe there's someone who likes Lynch but doesn't love this one, but I think it's just masterfully done. And that final, like, 40 minutes or so, like, that's, as good of filmmaking as it gets, in my opinion. So yeah, let's cut it off there. I'll be back with part 2 of this month tomorrow because this video is already getting long, so we'll cut it in half. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on all the movies I just mentioned. Any of them I mentioned, always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.